Yo, what up, YouTube? This is David Pixley, the muzzle, and this is the muzzle mastering. I'm going to be doing a tutorial and a bit of rambling. I had just tried to stream a minute ago, or maybe an hour ago, and my OBS wasn't set up right. I had streamed on Twitch on accident, and my mic was muted because of my privacy settings. So essentially, the word is that I'm still a noob at the OBS streaming capabilities, but I'm getting there. And so this is going to be a video about pretty much kind of what my mastering process looks like. A lot of the time I'll probably go off on tangents. I've been teaching myself seriously full-time for the last 3 years how to master audio. I mastered my own music for the last, well, I'd say 13 years, 12 maybe. Been like familiar with DAW programs since like 2001 when I started using the Acid Pro, kind of just fooling around, and when I got into like effects pedals and noise, and then I started to get into the digital music making, more so after like 2012. I started kind of like going from loving analog equipment to being like, hey, I'm in front of the computer, I can do everything with my computer, and it's cool. Analog, we all love the sound of it, but I'm telling you, digital has so much capabilities because really the math involved can go so far, because it's not relying on like a piece of hardware that the electricity passes through the components and it's fixed to like what is capable, like what can possibly happen with that, you know what I mean? The digital world, really, it's limitless, and it depends on what our math is going to be for the next 20 years, how far our algorithms are going to go. Is simple better? Is complex better? How do we handle digital audio? A lot of people have been, making digital audio and then trying to make it sound more like analog, emulated hardware. But a lot of the best plugins that I find aren't emulators. They're just like using what is capable, like what can happen in the digital audio world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through, big shout outs to Tori Thomas, MNNI417, for throwing me the track that I'm going to be mastering. I'm going to show you basically like where I start, and hopefully take you through the entire process. I might not be able to show you everything I do because while I'm streaming, my CPU is kind of limited. I already have to render 2 to 3 times to complete a mastering job, because I can't run all the plugins at the same time, so that kind of makes my process a little more complicated and it eats up more of my time. So planning on developing the muzzle mastering YouTube channel, which I did start, but I need to configure it and make it look all fancy and shit. And as well, I'll be developing my OBS skills. But and I'm considering becoming a patron on Patreon. So that way, if I got financial support through Patreon, I could basically do like free tutorials, put them out there, help people, and I was considering doing something along the lines of like a free mastering service. Although I'm guessing that my list of clients would grow exponentially, but finally getting paid enough for my mastering work to almost live like I'm not independent. I'm in a situation where I'm lucky enough to have been able to spend a lot of time teaching myself how to do stuff. I don't have schooling. I could have basically went to Full Sail and learned, you know, probably more than I know now in one year. But, you know, 3 years instead, searching Google and sifting through misinformation, which, you know, Reddit and forums are typically like 70% bullshit, at least. I guess it depends on the topic, but for example, like quantization errors and aliasing and artifacts and bit rate and sample rate and do you dither, when do you dither, oh dither, like that, like I found like probably 95% misinformation, which isn't 100% incorrect, but like when I finally found like what is the best practice, I was like, wow, man, like, is it Google that like puts the dumb shit on the top? It's like you search for something, they're like, here's something that's fake, here's something that's wrong, here's something that's completely stupid, here's Reddit with a bunch of people trolling. And you sift through and then you find somebody actually posted the correct information on the internet. It's remarkable. And you know, I think in the last like 2 years or year and a half, might have something to do with the fact that our internet isn't 100% free, or it's not, the Freedom of Information Act or something got reversed, where basically Obama had passed it like all information is available to us on the internet with no limitations. So essentially I could search for Iran news channel today and boom, like it tells me what they're talking about in Iran on their TVs and their news channels, and would even like tell us in English. Now you can't, because that law was abolished, and so basically they're limiting what we can find on the internet. And I think they're purposely putting like incorrect shit. It's like whoever pays for the ads gets their link up like farther on the search engine. That's just stupid. Like, I'm not sure if it's just Google or if I could use other search engines and actually get the correct information that I'm looking for when I'm looking for it. It seems like 2 years ago I could Google stuff and find the correct information a lot faster. Although that might be because I was on a Mac, and I think like when you Google something on your phone versus your PC versus your Mac versus like which operating system, it gives you different results based on your device. And with the targeting ads, since they're listening to your microphone and they're looking at your through your camera, like getting information constantly, even when you're not using the device. Like, I mean, if you have Messenger on your phone, they're like your microphone is always sending data to them, and so is your camera. So, what they do with that information? I mean, if I said right now, while my laptop is asleep and my phone is in my pocket, if I was like, man, I really want to get some like caramel popcorn at Jack in the Box, and then I search something on Google, and then boom, caramel popcorn at Jack in the Box pops up. For sale, $22 for 1 gram. Something stupid, you know, it's like, you know, they have all this technology, and corporations are in power to use technology to their advantage, but ultimately technology will be used by the people. I guess technically corporations are groups of them, but you know, somebody's gonna hack Bill Gates, and you're hired. Oh no, I really hacked. I don't trust you. What about now? So anyway, off on a tangent. I will be going off on tangents a lot. So basically, oh, let me make my webcam smaller so you can see my screen. And I'm going to show you this track by my friend Tori Thomas. His artist name is MNNI417. And he does basically a gospel rap, Christian gospel rap. And I know in the hip-hop community, the Christian rap is mostly frowned upon by, you know, 99% of the rappers out there. Maybe less than that, but this particular vocalist is extremely talented, and I'm personally not a religious person, but I'm spiritual, and when I listen to a lot of his music, I get like a warm, tingly feeling on my back and my neck a lot of the time. It reminds me of like that connection to God and Jesus, and you know what I mean, that shit's real. So I'm gonna show you this track. And I'm gonna show you basically step by step, like what I do, where I would start, and then if I can stream for long enough, like where it goes from there, basically. But I screwed up my webcam. I'm also new with the OBS, so you'll have to bear with me. I apologize in advance if something in the stream doesn't work. Basically, you know, I'm still kind of like learning OBS and just kind of figuring stuff out. And so, you know, this should get better. Especially if I get Patreon started and some, you know, somebody actually wants to send me some monthly donations, then I could really put out information more often. You know, since I have a list of clients for the mastering work, I can't spend a lot of time streaming. But if I could afford a decent computer, or if somebody bought me one, somebody would like to invest in my business, buy me a computer, I'll pay you back, and I'll be able to stream a lot more often with a lot more capabilities, because I can't run a ton of PST plugins while I'm streaming. I will be checking the comments in this live stream just in case somebody has any questions. And I'll try to do this once a week if I can. But I do have a lot of friends that make music, and I make music myself, which actually a lot of people probably wouldn't consider like what I do to be music at all. But okay, so now I'm on my phone and I can see the chat. Say yo, just to make sure it works. New live chat replay. Chat messages. Okay, got it. So if somebody has questions across the chat, I'll try to check it every several minutes or so, and there is a little bit of a latency. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So here's my DAW app. I use Ableton Live 10. Okay, so this is Ozone 8. Pretty much the first thing I always do, if somebody sends me audio, just make sure that I look at what sample rate and bit depth it is. Here it's 48 kilohertz sample rate, 24 bit depth. And I make sure that I right click on my speakers thing, open sound settings, I configure my speakers, make sure they're 48. I'll click on it just so you can see. I go to device properties, click on advanced, 24-bit, 48 hertz, 48,000 hertz. So you match that with the audio that you're processing. Also do that in your DAW. Control plus comma opens preferences, and then you go to the audio tab, in-out sample rate 48,000. Just FYI, I set my record warp launch thingy bit depth to 32, and when I render to 32 bit floating point, unless it's my final render. In other words, with my mastering process, I very often have to render at least twice, usually 3 or 4 times, depending on which maximizers I use. And I recently actually stopped using Kazrog K-Clip 3, which is a great clipper, best on the market. And it uses like 32x oversample. But when I render with that high quality oversample, Ableton will get to a stage where it says analyzing master, converting master or something like that, and it will stay there for hours. So unless somebody wants to pay me like an extra $10, then I'll like render before I go to bed, and when I wake up the next day, it'll be like just finishing. So, so I will be saving up for a new computer with the money that I'm making from mastering, and I will continue to put out information to help people in general, and I'll continue to actively learn and get better the best I can. So I started a YouTube channel called The Muzzle Mastering, and I haven't started using it yet. Just need to like set up a banner and etc. I have a website called themuzzlemastering.com. Oh, and when I say the muzzle, it's THEMUZZL3. So at the end of muzzle, it's a 3 instead of a B. So all one word, themuzzlemastering.com. That site hasn't been published yet, but it's in the process of being made. Shout outs to Infinati. He is developing that site for me, and I do need to pay his ass to. I should be paying his ass to do that. He's been learning codes and crazy shit, and learning how to make badass websites and drive traffic to it and hack the internet, basically. So next thing I always do is I load up Ozone 8, and I was showing a further step because I streamed earlier, but I did it unsuccessfully. Oh, I should make sure my mic is on. Yes, you can hear me good. So I go to Mastering Assistant, hit next, and then I press play on wherever it's the loudest in the song. I already did that. I'm just gonna hit cancel because it does take some CPU, so I can't do it while I'm streaming. But in 30 seconds, it gives you basically a starting point for what you would do if you're mastering a track. So essentially, you know, if somebody paid me $5 or $10, I could just do the Mastering Assistant, 30 seconds, render audio, and be like, here you go. And it always sounds good, but it can always be improved, I think. But and I think their Mastering Assistant tool in general over the next few years is going to get better and better. Isotope is a great company. Love their stuff. I recently, 2 weeks ago, discovered Airwindows.com, which is just a dude named ChrisJ, and he gives away over 100 plugins, and they're all, well, some of them are strange, but some of them are like, you know, you pay $750 for Ozone, but here's this shit for free, and it's better. And he tells you why this stuff is better, which I like a lot. He tells you what's going on under the hood, and a lot of this stuff is already open source, and stuff in the future is planning to be made open source. So not only is he telling you his secrets, he's giving you the code. So this way, other people like me, like I've never developed a VST plugin, I could learn how. I could use his code and develop, you know, use his ideas and expand on. And this is like something that hasn't happened before. He's supported on Patreon so that he can give away plugins to the world, and he makes over $1,000 a month from Patreon. As of like a couple months ago. And the word needs to get out. Airwindows is for real, yo. If if I paid enough Google ads to get Airwindows in the top 5 links on a Google search, when you search for like best plugins, best mastering plugins, best mixing plugins, if Airwindows was in the top 5 with Ozone and Waves and what else? Maybe Boxingo or fabfilter. If it was in that top 5, and some companies would be going out of business. So after I ran the mastering assistant on this track, it gave me 4 things. I already removed the maximizer, but I'll show you what the maximizer was because I saved their suggestion. Where is it? Here's a maximizer. I saved it as Tori track 1. Bring it back. Mastering assistant. So boom, it's there. And I don't remember the threshold being 0. Oh, that's because his track. So basically, after I do this, then I play the track with everything off, and I just load up my loudness meters and my isotope tonal balance plugin. Just get an idea of where things are at before I start. And these are like extra steps that takes up more of my time, but this is how I roll. So I just got this Uline loudness meter because I wanted to compare it to Isotope Insight, because Isotope Insight eats up a bunch of CPU. So oh, I've been playing audio. Okay, it wasn't. Hopefully it wasn't playing the audio this whole time. And by the way, if I speak while I'm playing audio from my system or my DAW, if I speak, the microphone will cause the audio of the song to compress. So if you hear it like being compressed when I speak, that's why. That's in OBS, and so I'll try not to speak when I'm playing the audio. So this Uline is free. It doesn't tell you like left and right, but it looks like it's about the same LUFS values that this Insight plugin is giving me. And I played it. I played the track with everything turned off, no processing, just analyzing it. And the true peak max was like 1 plus 1.8 over the 0 mark, which means that when the audio is converted from digital to analog and it plays back through the analog system of your speakers or your headphones or whatever, that means it's going over 0, which means that it's clipping, which means distortion, which means a bad situation. If you're, if you go and play your track in a club and it's going and it's the true peak is going over 0, then the club sound engineer might just turn you off and be like, I just turn you down 6 dB to be safe, and then your show will suck. But that's just if you're like playing, your tracks, basically DJing or whatever. And I'd like to point out that like your DAW master meter, like this, doesn't show you that true peak value. It just shows you what the digital audio signal is. So the true peaks are basically small transients that scrape through and cause bad things basically when it goes over 0. So I'm going to play the track, and well, actually I already played the track and I saw that it's clipping, or that it's, I don't know if clipping is the right word, but it's going over 0, true peak. And this is the tonal balance module. I use it to, it basically does like what LUFS is on the short term, but it shows you the frequency spectrum. So it shows you like it gives you 3 different classifications, or you can make custom target curves from an audio file or from a folder. And in this case, actually, I downloaded some Biggie Smalls tracks because I think that Tori's voice sounds similar to Biggie Smalls as far as the tonal quality. They both have like really bass in their voices. I don't know if like the rap from back then is going to be like the same, like as far as instrumental quality. So I'm just gonna better put this in a different folder just in case. And so I'm going to use this as my reference tracks for tonal balance. You can, another thing is you can use reference folders or tracks as well when you do the mastering assistant in the Ozone module. So when you click here and then you play the audio, you can use reference. In other words, you can get a starting point of what they would do to your audio in order to get it to sound like a reference track or a group of reference tracks. So if you want to sound like Skrillex, you load up some Skrillex tracks and you point it to them, and then it'll basically pump up the bass and drive your LUFS integrated value to like -3 or some ridiculous shit. No dissing on Skrillex, I actually like Skrillex, but and I am part of the loudest wars, even on my mastering for, you know, SoundCloud, and I'm not 100% sure about Bandcamp if it's the same as SoundCloud. I think Bandcamp limits the loudness. SoundCloud lets you upload as loud as you want, and it doesn't normalize, it doesn't compress, but it plays back at 128 kilobytes per second bit rate. So it's like MP3 quality. So I mean, if you push something to -3 LUFS and convert it to an MP3, chances are there's going to be some issues caused by a lot aliasing, artifacts. And cool thing about Ozone is you can load up this codec thing and you can listen to how your song will sound on a certain codec. You can enable the preview of what it'll sound like in that codec. So if I'm really trying to push the loudness, but I'm going to be uploading an MP3 to Bandcamp or some shit, or I mean, I wouldn't do that, but if I'm distributing an MP3 file of my music, then I want to make sure it sounds good. And you can solo the artifacts. So basically, when it gets converted to an MP3, artifacts are created especially in the, like, I think it's the 14 kilohertz to 20 kilohertz area, or it might be more like the 16 to 20. So the high frequencies, they'll make these little like sounds, and they sound like, and it's like random, and it sounds really bad. Like little digital farts. So like for my personal music, what I would do is push the loudness of something so far, then convert it to a really low quality MP3 to purposely create the worst artifacts ever, and then process those artifact audio chunks through like a million VST effects plugins or something. That's what I call music. But mastering is a lot more different. It's all about simplifying things. And I don't claim that my music is good either. Might be creative and different and fun, but probably if you listen to country music, or your favorite band is Nirvana, but sometimes you listen to Tool, like, chances are you're not gonna like anything that I would create, because I'm not singing like a bitch and playing an acoustic guitar, or an electric guitar for that matter. But, and that's not to diss on Nirvana and rock bands, because actually I grew up on Nirvana, and the simplicity of their sound is beautiful. But, and Tool is cool too. Tool, I like their videos better than their audio. The singer from Tool made a band called Pucifer, and they're really cool. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this track, but first I'm going to turn on this maximizer, just because before I even start with processing the audio, I want to listen to the track really loud. And I already checked out what the integrated LUFS is on his track that he sent me, and it was minus 12.3. I'm going to make the threshold minus, let's see, I want it to be like towards minus 8. Let's go louder, so I'm going to do minus 5.68, 1111, and I'm just going to pretend that this mastering is for like a CD, and I'm going to make the ceiling minus 0.037991111. I just found that value, and I found that no matter how loud I push it, it usually doesn't cause the true peaks to go over 0. So, and they gave me IRC4 Modern, which is my favorite, very slow character, and some transient emphasis. I'm going to play it back real loud, and we can listen to it. I'll shut up while we listen. And I'm going to listen for anything in the track that like bothers me in the mix, because like I found that like I would do all this processing and even render 3 times, and then I get to my stage where I'm like, okay, I'm on the last maximizers, and I push it real loud, and then I hear something that I didn't hear before, and I'm like, oh, that's something bad. Now I have to go back and start over. I don't want to do that, because I need to manage my time better. Speaking of managing time, this is my time, and I'm donating it. Somebody out there listens and learns. If not, it's like for me to document like my own situation as a mastering engineer and a musician, and an artist. So Tori Thomas is is likely to be featured on a future Pixelgasm track we've been working on. Just FYI, it's gonna be dope. Alright, so I'm gonna press play. I don't want to shut up.
Music was made.
My CPU was being pushed too hard. Let me figure out how to fix that for you. Well, it went to 84%, and then I just closed this Ozone, and now it's going to take like another 50 seconds. And if I tried to open my browser, ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, I use this fabfilter thing. I'm not using it now. It calibrates my headphones so they're 100% balanced, and then I can bypass it, or I can blend it in between like what the calibration is and what they normally are. They're normally very balanced, but I got this hack to balance them perfectly, so I use that when I do my mastering because it gives me a better perspective. But I like to go back and forth because I already know these headphones. Anyway, hold on one second, the cat wants in, and the wife is home. So, I'm going to press play and I'm going to hope that my CPU doesn't overload again. Is there something I can turn off to make this work? Well, since I know that, well, I want to show you the difference between these two, I'll turn off this tonal balance for now. When I looked at it before, it looked pretty balanced, but the bass was not quite as high as like in the bass heavy area, and the highs were too high for the modern. So that's why I wanted to use a custom folder, which is this Notorious Big, and it looks like, are they MP3s? They're all MP3s. Alright, so I'm going to use these. I also went to SoundCloud and basically hijacked some of Tori's songs that he has on SoundCloud. Because I figured the best way to find the EQ that works for his material is to go and use his material as references. At least like the songs that he has published that are mastered well and in the same area as far as like how it sounds, as far as like the mood of it, like what key it's in, the brightness or darkness, etc. So I did that. I went to Audacity and I recorded my system audio while I played his tracks on SoundCloud and basically just jacked them so I can use them as references, which is technically not something that people should do, but they do all the time. But since he's my boy, then he wouldn't mind, because if I asked him to send me his tracks, he would. So. And that's why I'm using his song for this. Anyway, so actually let's skip this loudness thing. I already analyzed it. I saw that it was minus 12.3 integrated LUFS value, and it was clipping at plus 1.8 true peak loudness, levels, just the audio that he sent me with no processing. And when I pushed it really loud with the maximizer, I didn't hear anything in the track that bothered me as far as EQ, the levels. I didn't hear any glitches, nothing bad basically. So we're going to do this thing. I'm going to create custom target curve from folder of audio files. And then I'm going to go to this one that I have, which is Notorious Big, Biggie Smalls, because his voice sounds a lot like Tory's, and it's hip hop. And then, did it just create it? Oh, it says creating. I don't know how long that'll take. It's not using CPU. I wonder if it's using the hard drive to do that. I'm interested. Let's check it out. Control Shift plus Escape to bring up Task Manager. I know everybody uses Control Alt Delete, but that just makes an extra step. Yeah, the CPU is at 74%. Wow, not doing anything except streaming. So OBS is using 33%. And Ableton is using 27% when it says 3% here. So it's doing something with the other processes that don't involve playing back audio. And I'm not sure how long that'll take because that's quite a big folder of all the Biggie Smalls. That's not that big. And they're all MP3 files. The best practice would be to use WAV files because MP3s. But this will work. I'll just have mental note that the highs are going to be rolled off because they're MP3s. In fact, you can see it created right there. Look how much it rolls it off, like after 14 kilohertz. It's like, man. So let's compare this custom to bass heavy, just to look at like where it is. Look at that. See that? Modern. So watch when it changes. It's about to change. Boom. See that? That's modern. So that's like, or that's orchestral. So bass heavy has like, modern has like more low mids, and modern has lower highs than bass heavy, I believe. Let's check it out, the difference. Yeah, see the highs drop on modern, and the sub bass drops on modern. There's my custom thing that I jacked from a bunch of MP3 files of Biggie Smalls, and then when I play back the track, then I can see if it basically fits within that hip hop spectrum, like late 90s hip hop spectrum. But mental note, these highs wouldn't be dropped off so much if they weren't MP3 files.
Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we...
You know what? I think that the audio is coming in too hot. So I'm going to turn down this maximizer. Actually, I could have just turned it off. That would have saved a good 60 seconds. I want to play it back loud, but I don't want to have it sounding shitty. Truthfully, I could just run Mastering Assistant and have a mastering done in like 10 minutes and charge people like $5 or something, but anybody can do that. So I'm going to change this to -4.2. Actually, it was going to 1.8 true peak, so this should be like, with Ozone Maximizer, you don't want to get more than like 3.5 dB of gain reduction. So let's see, 3.5 minus 1.8, 2.5, 1.7. So I'm gonna push it louder. I'm gonna say minus 2.3. So that way it might sound a little bit shitty, but not too bad. And then, alright, here we go. I've been streaming for like, what, 40 minutes, and now you get to hear the track for the first time. Here you go.
Music was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode. I'm on this arc to the Ravens back, yes sir, that's Flacco. If you ain't saved, then you didn't get that. It was hot though. We move with the single intention, promoting restoration. Descend on blocks and get fishing till nothing's left for Satan. Making introductions for instructions from the spirit of the Son of God, not the Sun God, ancient of days before the pyramid. None of these demon releases want to teach you who Jesus is. They even want me to agree with the thesis and plead the fifth. I couldn't do it if I tried to let it, can't sugarcoat it, it's diabetic. I didn't write it, dog, I just read it, it's in his word, and that's why I said it. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Come on! Music was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with it. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Flight squad praise in a circle, baby. Call that the power ring, cause it's empowering. Keeps us whiter than sour cream. Plus we don't bow to bail, cause well, hell isn't our thing. Besides, we're towering and really suck at cowering. When I say that I'm taking it back, dog, it don't mean that I'm hating on rap. I'm just stating the fact that embracing the whack is the reason we all what the nation is at. So I'm lacing the track while they're facing the fad, basing it, placing it way in the back, replacing the crap with the praise of my dad. Let's face it, ain't nothing adjacent to that. Cause all these anti-Jesus MCs is just rapping about nothing really worth it. How they all OGs and make cheese, but the truth is they ain't from the turf, kid. Then they wanna talk about how they rob and kill, lock and load a Glock before they pop a pill. Go get in the water, wanna thank God for it. Blasphemy, that was not his will. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast, and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast, and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast. Hey! Music was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him.
So that's the track. I set my opacity on this on the webcam so that you can see the DAW behind it, but I should make it more transparent. I can show you how I did that in OBS. It's real easy. Let me see here. So, I wasn't watching this. Alright, let's do it again.
was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it back. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer lack. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Why please him? Gotta please him. Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode. I'm on this arc to the Ravens back, yes sir, that's Flacco. If you ain't saved, then you didn't get that. It was hot though. We move with the single intention, promoting restoration. Descend on blocks and get fishing till nothing's left for Satan. Making introductions for instructions from the spirit of the Son of God, not the Sun God, ancient of days before the pyramid. None of these demon releases want to teach you who Jesus is. They even want me to agree with the thesis and plead the fifth. I couldn't do it if I tried to let it, can't sugarcoat it, it's diabetic. I didn't write it, dog, I just read it, it's in his word, and that's why I said it. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Come on! Music was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it back. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer lack. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Why please him? Gotta please him. Right squad praise in a circle, baby. Call that the power ring, cause it's empowering. Keeps us whiter than sour cream. Plus we don't bow to bail, cause well, hell isn't our thing. Besides we're towering and really suck at cowering. When I say that I'm taking it back, dog, it don't mean that I'm hating on rap. I'm just stating the fact that embracing the whack is the reason we are where the nation is at. So I'm lacing the track while defacing the fad, abasing it, placing it way in the back, replacing the crap with the praise of my dad. Let's face it, ain't nothing adjacent to that. Cause all these anti-Jesus MCs is just rapping about nothing really worth it. How they all OGs and make cheese, but the truth is they ain't from the turf, kid. Then they want to talk about how they rob and kill, lock and load a Glock before they pop a pill. Go get an award, I want to thank God for it. Blasphemy, that was not his will. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast, and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast, and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast. Hey! Music was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it back. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer lack. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Why please him? Gotta please him.
So, I have concluded that the Ulean loudness reader, maybe I need to change a setting or something, but it was saying minus 0 dB and it was showing in red, or it was saying 0 dB, and isotope insight was showing left and right minus 0.1, which means it wasn't clipping. I trust isotope's loudness meter over the Ulean. However, that's something to note, that today's loudness meters, they're reading the LUFS and the true peak values. A lot of them display different values. So to find the best one, that is something that I will be looking into. But I believe that isotope would probably have the best one. So what I noticed while watching the tonal balance is that it stayed in the, basically if you go to broad and you see the line go out, then I would be thinking, okay, I'm going to make some changes with the EQ. I'm glad I used the Biggie Smalls songs. Oh, another thing is to note is, since they're MP3s, then these highs should be higher for a WAV file. If they were WAV files, it would be higher. So I didn't watch it the whole time, but I didn't see it fall out of the lines. I'm going to take a restroom break right after the cigarette's done. So that'll be a 5-minute, maybe 2 of AFK. What I'll do is I'll loop the track for you so you can listen to it. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and activate all these things that Ozone did with its mastering assistant, except for the maximizer, because I need my CPU power. I'm telling you, somebody should invest in my business. Buy me a badass laptop. I will pay you back. And I will stream at higher quality and be able to show you more of my methodology. And then I'm not trying to claim that what I do is always correct. Sometimes I try to use some creative ways of doing things. So anyway, EQ right away, like what I see it being suggested. See this 1.2 boost, and it's on analog. I usually switch that to digital, but I A/B test it, whichever sounds better. I usually do about 10% of the gain changes, maybe 50% at the most. So I would cut this gain down to 0.12. And I used to do a lot of EQ on stuff, basically making narrow, what are those, notch filters to cut stuff in between 200 and 700 hertz to get rid of the mud. And then I would do some cuts in between and above 1K and below 2K, sometimes a little bit above 2K. Our ears are able to hear the 1K to 3K area more than everything else. So when stuff gets, when you turn it way up, that's what's going to hurt your ears, usually. I find that I could even just turn EQ off, handle everything with dynamic EQ, and then it'll basically turn down that mud when there's too much mud there, when it goes over a signal, or when it goes over threshold, I mean. You can change the attack and release of the dynamic EQ things. I'll go into more details about dynamic EQ, and I'll be right back. Gotta pee. I gotta pee. I'm back. I forgot to press play on the audio for you. Sorry about that. Again, I am a noob at the OBS and the streaming world. But, oh, and I should check if there's any comments. I will be taking questions. Anybody needs help with mastering, ask some questions. Oh, here, I'll just say this. If anybody needs help or has questions about anything to do with mastering, please leave a comment and I will check periodically, period. So I've been streaming for like, what, an hour maybe? Okay, so let's hear it with basically the dynamics and EQ and dynamic EQ that Ozone applied. And I'll go ahead and turn gain match on and I'll bypass. So I'll turn it on and off and see if it sounds better with their processing or worse. That gain match thing is so essential because, you know, when you make changes in the audio, if you make it louder, of course it's going to sound better. So with that A being, you know, bypass on off really is important.
Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Why please him? Gotta please him. Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode. I'm on this arc to the Ravens back, yes sir, that's Blocko. If you ain't
I don't know why it's clipping.
It was hot though. We move with the single intention, promoting restoration. Descend on lines and get mission till nothing's left for Satan. Making introductions for instructions from the spirit of the Son of God, not the Sun God, ancient of days before the pyramid. None of these demon releases want to teach you who Jesus is. They even want me to agree with the thesis and plead the fifth. I couldn't do it if I tried to let it. Can't sugarcoat it, it's diabetic. I didn't write it, dog, I just read it, it's in his word, and that's why I said it. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Come on. Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Well, please,
This is an AD clip from Airwindows. Airwindows doesn't use Windows in their plugins, so it doesn't use up your GPU or CPU with the visual elements. It makes them extremely efficient. Shout out to ChrisJ, Airwindows.
All these anti-Jesus MCs is just rapping about nothing really worth it. How they all OGs and make cheese, but the truth is they ain't from the turf, kid. Then they want to talk about how they rob and kill, lock and load a Glock before they pop a pill. Go get in the water, want to thank God for it? Blasphemy, that was not his will. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast. Hey! Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Music was was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it on. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer long. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode. I'm on this arc to the Ravens back, yes sir, that's Flacco. If you ain't saved, then you didn't get that. It was hot though. We move with the single intention, promoting restoration. Descend on blocks and get fish until nothing's left for Satan.
This is in attenuation mode, so it matches the gain with the clean. It clips it and then it reduces the volume. And then you can also listen to only the clips. So see that sounding like crap right there? So then basically I want to see if I can use soften and enhance to fix that. I haven't 100% learned this plugin yet. Alt plus double click brings it back to 0.5. Lower the boost. Shift plus double click, then drag makes it go up or down at smaller increments. Since there's no windows, I can't double click the number and punch in, like I can't type in a number. He's able to do that with his plugins on Logic Pro. I'm unsure as to how well Pro Tools works with that. Oh, but here's something that's very much noteworthy. Let's check this shit out. There's a little plugin here called Blue Cat's Patchwork. Booyah. All of Airwindows plugins work in patchwork, and also they work in Blue Cat's MB7, which is a multi-band processor that hosts other VST plugins. So you can basically take your broadband plugins and apply them to a specific band of your choice. With the MB7, with the patchwork, you can run plugins in parallel or in series. So what I'm going to do is hit wait, what am I? What's going to be the last thing? So I'll put it on the post. You can load VST3 or VST. I'm curious of what my VST3 list is, or even where it would be. Oh, I see. Common files, VST3. That works, because then when they're not being used, then it doesn't use the CPU. But I think when they are being used, it uses more CPU. I have plugin alliance? Wait. Oh, that's mag EQ. Oh, that's cool. So I could use mag EQ in there instead of with JBridge, which is what I usually do. Wait. Where is my mag EQ? Mag Mog. Oh, I thought my Mog EQ was in the bridged. Oh, that's clariphonic. And the inflator. I I used to use this inflator a lot. I'm still trying to use it, but I found that, oh, here I am playing just the clipped things for you guys. Here, let's go back to what it was.
Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode. I'm on this arc to the Ravens back, yes sir, that's Flocko. If you ain't saved, then you didn't get that. It was hot though. We move with the single intention, promoting restoration. Descend on blocks and get fishing till nothing's left for Satan. Making introductions for instructions from the spirit of the Son of God, not the Sun God, ancient of days before the pyramid. None of these demon releases want to teach you who Jesus is. They even want me to agree with the thesis and plead the fifth. I couldn't do it if I tried to let it, can't sugarcoat it, it's diabetic. I didn't write it, dog, I just read it, it's in his word, and that's why I said it. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Come on. Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Flight squad praise in a circle, baby. Call that the power ring, cause it's empowering. Keeps us whiter than sour cream. Plus we don't bow to bail, cause well, hell isn't our thing. Besides we're towering and really suck at cowering. When I say that I'm taking it back, don't
awesome.
that I'm hating on rap. I'm just stating the fact that I'm embracing the whack.
Yeah, I just read today, ChrisJ made a post that said that him and Blue Cats worked together to make sure that all his plugins worked on this, and look at how beautiful that is. I get knobs. Yay! I love knobs. So don't need to use that anymore. The sliders suck. Oh yeah. Now shift. Oh yeah. It looks like it's doing it as smaller integral, smaller increments. So, what was I boosting at? I believe there's another alternative, or there's an alternative, or there's like 2 or 3 alternatives to Blue Cat's patchwork, and I heard one of them might be better, but I forget which one. And I used to use Blue Cat's stuff. I never did enough, because I didn't have enough CPU power to. Basically what I wanted to do is use MB7 and patchwork together and have like hundreds of VSTs like active in a mix project, just to see what happens. But so 6.9 is where I ended up. Oh yeah, that's way more smooth. So the soften, when you turn up the soften, it makes the highs get smoothed out. And you turn up the enhance, the bass goes up. I can't tell you exactly what's going on there, but I just watched the video today from ChrisJ. I watched it 2 weeks ago and I already had forgot. I watched it today and I still can't explain exactly the plan. So basically it like adds something back to the clipped signal so that there's those basses still goes over the clipping or something. I can't explain it. He explained it. I'll just stick with that. I think what I want to do actually is just for experimenting. I want to put a console on the beginning. Should be on the beginning of everything. Wish I could set the default plugin folder to the Steinberg for Blue Cats. There's probably a way to do that. So I'm going to use Airwindows, and I'm going to use Purist Console, which is one that he released this year. Console bus. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Essentially, Purist Console should be on all the pre's of every, like, chain of effects that you use. It has no controls, it just works. So that gives it an analog sounding quality, and it lets you implement EQ and reverb and delay, and I think like multiband saturation, sure, like all the plugins that you put in here, they work more accurately, especially when you think about EQ and like narrow notch filters. Like, so I want to put like Ozone dynamic EQ here, and then it'll process better, because that's not something that I had been doing previously. That's to give things like a more of an analog sounding quality. Which is pretty much why ChrisJ started when Airwindows, because he wanted to get the same sound that he got with analog gear 400 years ago, back when he was building tube compressors, and I don't know what the hell he was actually doing. He was building triode exciters and tube exciters, and I don't know, he's pretty insane. But so you can hit the plus button. I need to refresh myself on this Blue Cats. But what I do know you can do, like, here's a parallel chain summing mode. It averages them. Or you can put it on sum. And the sum is it basically lets you control the audio levels of each of the tracks, and you can add more rows and columns. I think it's like 8 rows. You can have 8 parallel chains of plugins, and I think it's 8 columns. I don't remember, and I can't figure out how you add more columns and rows. I think it's in these buttons somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Select rows. Probably only need 2 rows, but for columns, I'm gonna go for 6. Then why can't I see all 6? I only see 4. So in average mode, it averages out. So say like you have one chain that's like compression into reverb into delay into EQ, And then you have another one that's like reverb into delay into EQ into compression. And then you have another one that's like saturation into transient shaping into bit crushing. Then in average mode, it makes them all like the same level, so it equals it out. And then you can, I need to watch a tutorial on this plugin because I haven't been implementing it, but I think I'm going to start using it because the idea of doing using exciters, saturators on specific bands. Oh, I want to use the MB7 plugin because, for example, then I could take this True Iron tube emulator plugin, or wait, was it a? I think it might have been a console emulator. No, it's. I forget what type of exciter it is. I believe it's tube though, or triode or something. So I could apply this to a specific band. Say it sounds like crap on the bass, but it sounds really nice on the hi-hats, then I can do that. And I believe the MB7, the crossovers of the bands is extremely efficient, so that you get the minimum amount of bleed through from one band to the other. And what I mean by that is when you do processing on a single band, say from 200 hertz to 500 hertz, say you use some kind of crazy reverb on it, then it will make sound that is above 500 and below 200. But I guess the way they implemented like the crossover points minimizes that bleed through. Which is essential in mixing or mastering, well, especially mastering, because if there's bleed through from one band to the other, then just having that crossover curve adds a little bit of audio where that crossover point is, so it brings that up where that crossover point is, and that's not good. What I want is basically a tool that's like Blue Cat's MB7, but with a brick wall filter to separate the bands, so that it doesn't have these like curves that separate each band. It just goes to the line and then goes straight down. And I believe there's a tool that does do that. Let me see. Wow, 90% CPU usage. Okay, because I was looking for alternatives to Blue Cats, and I think it's this DDMF meta plugin. I think that uses brick wall filters to separate. I think it gives you 4 bands, so not 7 but 4. I have to research that more to see if it's going to be something I want to implement, but
Music was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it on. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with that.
Like, what I've been doing is, you know, I have my mastering chain, and it's just one long line of plugins in series. Now with this Blue Cats thing, and I don't know if this is like something that a lot of mastering engineers would do, is use parallel processing. Like for example, like I have this true iron with the mix to 7%. Like if this was the only like exciter that I was using, it would probably be like 23%. But since I'm using Spiral2, which implements the use of the Fibonacci sequence golden ratio for saturation, I'm using about 7.5% of that as well. So it's like, okay, the true iron uses tube emulation to add stuff to the I believe even ordered harmonics, or wait, like probably the first and second even numbered harmonics. And then so those things that are added now are being processed by Spiral, which adds different harmonics. And then I've got this tape plugin, which tape adds odd harmonics. I believe it could be the other way around. And then, so I put this capacitor before my tube and etc. exciters and my coloring EQ that sounds analog. Like I figured the capacitor before like analog emulators, it made sense in my mind, but I'm not 100% sure if that's like if you're using hardware, like the signal goes to the capacitor, then it goes to your tube style EQ or compression, right? I'm not sure. So if any audio engineers would actually spend the time watching this video and know the answer, please comment. Well, I'm going to check for comments and see if Fibonacci, oh, Spacey Blur is watching. So Fibonacci harmonic distortion / saturation question mark, says Spacey Blur. Alright, I will show you. So this is a plugin from Airwindows. It's free, as are his list of over 100 plugins. And I just recently became a Patreon, and I'm sending him $2 a month because he's awesome. Blows isotope out of the water. So this plugin is an exciter that uses the golden ratio in a way that basically when the saturation happens is that it analyzes a sample and it adds a value of either 0 or 1. When it adds the saturation, it goes to 1. And then the exit sample typically would be used to figure out like what he wanted to do was have basically a sine curve that went up and curved gradually to the 1, that didn't just go stair step to 1. And what this Spiral2 plugin does is it goes to 1 and then it goes almost to 0, and then it goes up to almost 1, and then it goes and it averages out to I guess 1.618 times 0.5, or really the way to think about it is like 1 and 2. Like if 1 is your like what's the name of that axis? Like 1 is where your axis is, and the sine curve goes up to 2, and then it does a like goes like this and continues to go sine curve, but it gets less and less and less until it averages out at 1.618 ... which is my new favorite number, better than pi. And so what it does is it does that, and it sounds to me better than any analog hardware processing unit that does saturation, because of the natural way that it spirals to that golden ratio. And I'll show you what it sounds like. I'll push it like loud. I'll just drag this over here for now. Actually, what I should do is put it in Blue Cats so that I have those knobs, but yeah, I'll do that just because it's visually more appealing. I might actually use, yeah, probably use more CPU though, however. So I will go boom, load VST. I gotta figure out how to set my standard, to learn how to set this plugin folder so that I don't have to do this every time. Airwindows, baby. And Spiral2. ChrisJ is my new favorite human being when it comes to audio and technology. So I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to push the input up until it sounds bad. And then I'll show you what the high pass and the presence do. But what he recommends is leaving these at their values, because when you don't touch them, then that knob is in total bypass, which means that it doesn't go through it at all. A lot of plugins, like the audio, will still go from button to knob to knob to knob to button, and DAW tools as well. You got a bunch of buttons and knobs, like the audio goes through all that, and you lose a small amount of bits every time the audio goes through because it's doing math. So this just shuts it off. It does no math. Alright, here goes.
Music was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it back. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer. We ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode. I'm on this arc to the Ravens back, yes sir, that's Flacco. If you ain't saved, then you didn't get that. It was hot though. We move with the single intention, promoting restoration. Descend on blocks and get fishing till nothing's left for Satan. Making introductions for instructions from the spirit of the Son of God, not the Sun God, ancient of days before the pyramid. None of these demon releases wanna teach you who Jesus is. They even want me to agree with the thesis and plead the fifth. I couldn't do it if I tried to let it, can't sugarcoat it, it's diabetic. I didn't write it, dog, I just read it, it's in his word, and that's why I said it. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts, and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Come on. Music was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it back. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. bright squad praise in a circle, baby. Call that the powering, cause it's empowering. Keeps us whiter than sour cream. Plus we don't bow to bail, cause well, hell isn't our thing. Besides we're towering and really suck at cowering. When I say that I'm taking it back, dog, it don't mean that I'm hating on rap. I'm just stating the fact that embracing the whack is the reason we are where the nation is at. So I'm lacing the track while defacing the fad, basing it, placing it way in the back, replacing the crap with the praise of my dad. Let's face it, ain't nothing adjacent to that. Cause all these anti-Jesus MCs is just rapping about nothing really worth it. How they all OGs and make cheese, but the truth is they ain't from the turf, kid. Then they wanna talk about how they rob and kill, lock and load a Glock before they pop a pill. Go get an award, wanna thank God for it? Blasphemy, that was not his will. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast.
Hey! Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it back. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him.
So this is now being processed in parallel, which is awesome because that way, I mean, in series it might sound better or worse, but in my opinion, if you're going to use a bunch of different exciters, parallel might be the way to go. I really like the way this Kazrog True Iron sounds on the bass. So, thought I had Blue Cat's MB7 installed. Looks like I don't.
Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode.
I want to put this True Iron on like the bass and the low mids with the spiral. What I did with the spiral was
descend on blocks and get fish until nothing's left for Satan, making introductions for instructions from the spirit of the Son of God, not the Sun God, ancient of days before the pyramid. These demon releases want to teach you who Jesus is. They even want me to agree with the thesis.
So I turned up the high pass.
Couldn't do it if I tried to let it, can't sugarcoat it, it's diabetic.
And then I brought in the dry signal, so it's not being applied. If I wanted to, I could just put it on the highs. And then bring the dry wet down to 25. Really, probably what I want to do is put like about 13%.
Keeps us whiter than sour cream. Plus we don't bow to bail cause well, hell isn't our thing. Besides we're towering and really suck at cowering. When I say that I'm taking it back, dog, it don't mean that I'm hating on rap. I'm just stating the fact that embracing the whack is the reason we are where the nation is at. So I'm lacing the track while defacing the fad, basing it, placing it way in the back, replacing the crap with the praise of my dad. Let's face it, ain't nothing adjacent to that. Cause all these anti-Jesus MCs is just rapping about nothing really worth it. How they all OGs and make cheese, but the truth is they ain't from the turf, kid. And they wanna talk about how they rob and kill, lock and load a Glock before they pop a pill. Go get an award, wanna thank God for it? Blasphemy, that was not his will. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast.
Hey! Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it back. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him.
Only thing about this Blue Cat's thing is I can't just hit spacebar or stop, because once I click into here, then it goes and loads everything, and then you have to click back into the DAW to go back to that. So what I want to do, can I click and drag that? What's this? Copy. Paste. And then on this one, actually I want to cut that. And then, so what I'll do is I'll put a capacitor before the exciter. This is a pain in the ass to go to the Steinberg folder every time. So I'm going to have to watch a tutorial on this Blue Cat's plugin and figure out the juicy stuff. So Airwindows. I wonder if he has a transistor. I think he might have a transistor. So what I want to do... Oh, he has a Tran desk. That would be what I would probably... So what I want to do is put a capacitor before the exciter. I'll do that with this tube true iron as well. And then after the exciter, I'm going to put the I'm gonna pull some Jesus shit. Some Jesus. I can't do that. The Jesus. I'm gonna put the trans desk. It's like transistor desk. If you think about it, I think I could be wrong. Like after you send your audio out to a tube exciter, then you send it back to a desk or a console, right? And then after the desk, then you put like your maximizer or whatever, or other stuff. I'm not sure if this is like what I will be doing on a normal all the time, but we'll see how it sounds. Oh, this was bypassed. I'm going to keep it bypassed. Oh, this is your output gain knob. Alt plus double click. Yeah, 0. And then after trans desk, actually I could just send it back to desk, which would be clean. I think the transistor desk might do something cool that I'm not 100% sure about though. Oh, you know what I could do? I wish I could just click this and drag it to there. I have to go cut. And this is left click, by the way, not right click. And paste. And then I'm going to put that clariphonic EQ, which is an analog style additive EQ that adds character. Actually, what's this plugin alliance? Mag EQ. Mag EQ is okay. Doesn't sound as musical as this clariphonic. What's this satin.data? What is satin? That's probably some Airwindows shit. I could put Tube Tech. I'm not sure. I need to research those. So I'll put tape after the desk. So you go from capacitor to tube emulator, exciter, either before or after. So it goes capacitor and then your tube stuff. So that's like tube compression, analog EQ emulators, and exciters. It can be different orders, and then after that go back to the desk, and then after that go to a tape plug-in. That's what I did down here. Does that, and then it goes to desk, and then that to tape, and then tape goes to the maximizers basically. But what I do is after the tape, before the maximizers, I take a look at the stereo image. That's when I bust out my Ozone imager and my fabfilter side shaping EQ. This is what I do, which people would say that is wrong because a lot of people do a gradual roll off to make it go to mono. Here's 90 hertz, it goes to mono. The reason why I do this big ass narrow boost and this little boost here is because then in headphones, and interestingly, even if the bass kick is all mono, meaning you're not going to hear this bass kick in the sides no matter what, or the bass synth, when you boost that, somehow it makes it sound louder in stereo. I think it's because it's boosting like other stuff, like the vocals and other stuff. It pushes the kick up somehow, and I can't really explain it. And I do this again with a dynamic EQ sometimes, so that like when the lows push through, it's like lowering it on a low shelf or a high pass filter, and then I use an expander right here so that when it goes over the threshold, it pushes it up there, and it pushes it up here, and it pushes it down a little bit near 200 hertz, and then I do something like this with my dynamic EQ as well. So I could essentially end up totally scrapping this EQ and just using dynamic EQ, because I used it the other day, yesterday, on a track from Empty, and it like sounded okay after the fab filter, but then I was like, I started playing with the dynamic EQ in mid-side mode, and I did that, and all of a sudden the bass kick was like boom, boom, and I know it's doing that boom in like it was only in the mids. The kick was like all mono, but somehow it like did some kind of magic. I guess by boosting like the vocals in that spot, and then by cutting it further. And another thing is, like, people would say this is wrong and will make it sound bad, but this Ozone imager is essentially doing a gradual roll off, which makes this stuff less extreme. Like, if I do this, see how that goes down? I can even have it up here. It goes down. So that little thing is going to be like up to there at the most. You know what I mean? Check comments again. Good question, Spacey, on the exciter stuff. Oh, did you, I see that you lost reception. Did you hear the explanation on the Spiral2? Fibonacci. And when I saw that he did that, I was like, I went crazy, and I was like, please implement the Fibonacci sequence in all your other plugins. Like, imagine a clipper that I was looking at, his clipper that he did, which was kind of an experimental destruction tool. AD clipper is one that would be used for mastering, but the one that I was looking at earlier today was, I forget what it was called. It didn't look at the exit sample, so it basically just clipped the whatever the incoming signal is, and then it didn't even consider the outgoing sample. So it just goes up and then straight down. And then imagine if it, and with the AD clip, it looks at the outgoing sample so that it doesn't just go straight down. It goes more curved. But imagine if the curve was like if it went down to that golden ratio. Like if the exit sample was multiplied by 1.618, then your clipper would be smooth as fuck, but just perfectly. And by the way, the Fibonacci sequence is also implemented in making fractals, and it's the only, they call them algorithms or equations or formula. It was the only formula that when you try to generate a 2D image of fractals, basically no matter what you threw into it, it collapsed to zero. It was just nothing. Just basically a point. And so you're left with this like screen and nothing. Which is dope. It's the only one that did that. All the other formulas generated some kind of image from the math. But anyway, I wonder if Stacy is still tuned in. Looks like Stacy is still tuned in. So I think this loudness, this Uline loudness meter is not going to replace my Isotope Insight, unfortunately. I think there might be a pro version of it, but Insight uses too much damn CPU. So with my Ozone imager, I always bring the low band down to -0, and then sometimes I do a final shaping of these with most commercial music, and even my experimental crazy shit, like the sides would be going louder than the mids in a lot of cases, which throws tracks out of phase. When that gets to negative, then that's bad. So let's take a look at that real fast on Tori's track. I forget what I was loading here. Oh, it was going to be the Clariphonic EQ. But what I want to do is Steinberg, where are you at? And then I wanted to get the, oh yeah, Kush Audio. Where is it? Oh, because it's looking for a VST3. Load VST. Somehow it's in this wrong folder. I think because I used some kind of hack to get 32-bit files working in 64-bit DAW without JBridge or something. I forget what I did. Did some kind of hack shit when I was really tired, and then I forgot what the hell I did. Oh, weird, it didn't load that up. Or it's just taking forever. It froze. Oh, there it goes. So yay, I can use this clariphonic. I could use this within Blue Cat's MB7 as well and apply it to just one band, which would be kind of crazy, I think. But this is basically when you put it on silk. I like to do it in mid-side mode. When you have it on silk, then this clarity knob is a shelving boost at 39 kilohertz, which, especially in the case of when your audio is in, say your audio is in 48 kilohertz sampling rate, well then you only have audio up to 24 kilohertz. So essentially what you're doing when you boost up there is you're boosting empty bits. They're silent bits. But when you do that, interestingly, when you boost a bunch of zeros, it changes the audible spectrum. Sometimes in a good way, usually in a good way. And then this shimmer is a notch filter at 19 kilohertz. And then you can switch that. You can turn it off, or you can go over to this side. And I think presence is like a shelving boost at, forget, I think it's like 7,000 hertz. And sheen is like at like 13,000 hertz. I forget the numbers on those. But I remember that presence was like lower than sheen. And then your focus knob is another boost. In tight mode, it goes up. If you have it on lift, it ramps up around 700 hertz, and then if it's on tight, around 13 kilohertz, it starts to go down. If it's on defuse, then it shelves up and it stays up. And then on open, it does the boost at 3000 hertz instead of 700. So this EQ sounds really good, and I've been putting it on basically everything that I master. And when I read about it, people were like, the guy with the hardware unit would basically go up to here and then turn it down until it didn't sound like shit, and then turn it back up a little bit. And he basically turned the knob and turned it down and then went up a little, and that was like done. Boom. And one guy pointed out that for mastering, he doesn't use the clarity, like he has this on off. But I've noticed that I like it, and I like to do this thing where I boost the empty bits with the silk, even if it's just like to there. But a lot of people said like, okay, like up here, like no, that's bad. So most people said like go to the halfway point and then adjust it from there, either plus or minus. Another guy had chiped in and he was like, actually, like half that, make that like 50% again, and here is around where you want to be at. Maybe a little higher, maybe up to there, like depending on audio. But doing just a little bit helps, but doing too much often hurts. So I'm gonna play the audio and let you listen to how this sounds based on. Let's take a look at the tonal balance. And I'm not sure if you were tuned in when I used this tonal balance earlier. I made a custom folder with Notorious Biggie Smalls MP3 files so that I could have a target range of like where the spectrum is for like rap with a male vocalist with low pitched voice. And since they're MP3s, it rolls off the highs a lot faster than it would with the WAV files. So what I'm going to do is take a look at the spectrum while it plays, and then I'm going to apply my boosts, which most of the time I will do dynamic EQ and EQ cuts on digital or linear, maximum linear phase. Do digital cuts first and then do the boosting EQ last. I would do the boosting EQ after my exciters most of the time, because when I process the audio through the exciters, I want the pure track like as it was given to me, minus whatever EQ cuts I've already done. And sometimes I'll do EQ cuts that are like, I'll get rid of a certain spot like 4 dB on a band, and then I'll process some exciter on that band, very little bit, and then I'll put a boost of EQ like the same amount after, so it goes down, then it processes it, then it goes back up. And somehow that makes it more subtle and subliminal. And like with exciters, you're adding all these harmonics and stuff. Often what I found with exciters is I'll be like, damn, that sounds great. But then like if I listen to it for long enough, I might find a spot where one of those harmonics doesn't sound good. But the best thing to do is to find just a tiny spot where you want to use harmonics, and like choose like why you want to use harmonics there, and then just put just a little bit right there. That's the best way to do it, is to slip it in small. In other words, if you have a little dick, then it works out better for everybody. You have like very many small penises working together, then the ultimate picture is better. Whatever that means. Okay, so this is after my spiral and before the desk. And on this chain here, I had the true iron before or after spiral, and my exciters were both before, or my tube style exciters. I would consider Spiral 2 to sound like a tube style exciter, or similar, and that it's smooth. It adds smoothness to the audio, whereas tape adds a harshness or brilliance. Alright, so I'll play, I'll shut up.
Music was made for Jesus, and we gon' bring it back. Worship him, you're a genius, and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers, cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode. I'm on this arc to the Ravens back, yes sir, that's Flacco. If you ain't saved, then you didn't get that. It was hot though. We move with the single intention, promoting restoration. Descend on blocks and get fishing till nothing's left for Satan, making introductions.
Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him.
Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode. I'm on this arc to the Ravens back, yes sir, that's Flacco. If you ain't saved, then you didn't get that. It was hot though. We move with the single intention, promoting restoration. Descend on blocks and get fishing till nothing's left for Satan, making introductions for instructions from the spirit of the Son of God, not the Sun God, ancient of days before the pyramids. None of these demon releases want to teach you who Jesus is. They even want me to agree with the thesis and plead the fifth. I couldn't do it if I tried to let it. Can't sugarcoat it, it's diabetic. I didn't write it, dog, I just read it, it's in his word, and that's why I said it. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Come on.
Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him.
Right squad praise in a circle, baby. Call that the power ring, cause it's empowering. Keeps us whiter than sour cream. Plus we don't bow to Baal, cause well, hell isn't our thing. Besides we're towering and really suck at cowering. When I say that I'm taking it back, dog, it don't mean that I'm hating on rap. I'm just stating the fact that embracing the whack is the reason we are where the nation is at. So I'm lacing the track while defacing the fad, abasing it, placing it way in the back, replacing the crap with the praise of my dad. Let's face it, ain't nothing adjacent to that. Cause all these anti-Jesus MCs is just rapping about nothing really worth it. How they all OGs and make cheese, but the truth is they ain't from the turf, kid. Then they want to talk about how they rob and kill, lock and load a Glock before they pop a pill. Go get an award, I want to thank God for it. Blasphemy, that was not his will. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast. Two things that he wants: a rapper that's steadfast and a true soldier like you, not embarrassed to let it blast.
Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him.
Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode. I'm on this arc to the Ravens back, yes sir, that's Flacco. If you ain't saved, then you didn't get that. It was hot though. We move with the single intention, promoting restoration. Descend on blocks and get fishing till nothing's left for Satan, making introductions for instructions from the spirit of the Son of God, not the Sun God, ancient of days before the pyramids. None of these demon releases want to teach you who Jesus is. They even want me to agree with the thesis and plead the fifth. I couldn't do it if I tried to let it. Can't sugarcoat it, it's diabetic. I didn't write it, dog, I just read it, it's in his word, and that's why I said it. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Two things that he wants: somebody to state the facts and a go-getter like me. I go get it and bring it back. Come on.
Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him.
Right squad praise in a circle, baby. Call that the power ring, cause it's empowering. Keeps us whiter than sour cream. Plus we don't bow to Baal, cause well, hell isn't our thing.
So basically what I just did there is I found a setting that didn't sound like shit. I pushed it to where it sounded like shit, then I lowered it until it didn't, and then I lowered it a little bit more, and then I turned the mix down to 13%, which actually, since I'm using more than one saturator, let's push it down to 7%. It's barely doing anything, but then that way, like, the more you barely do stuff, the faster it adds up, obviously. So let's turn this back on now.
Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta please him. Stay on the straight and narrow, dog. We call that crossroad. Right next to the king, that means it's boss mode.
I'm not sure why the tonal balance module is not showing any audio coming in. I might have to restart Ableton, or it could just be a glitch. Let's see if moving it fixed it. Very strange.
Music was made for Jesus and we gon' bring it. Worship him, you're a genius and never suffer. We don't bump non-believers cause we ain't down with that. We know that God can see us. Wanna please him, gotta.
Yeah, my CPU is being pushed too much. I think it might have something to do with this clairphonic EQ. Well, let me think. I send it to the trans desk and then let's turn this off. Let's see if it, in fact, let's get rid of it. Just want to see what happens to the CPU. Okay, I thought it might have gone down from that move, but it even took like 10 seconds just to remove it. So I've definitely got some issues with CPU overload right now. I'm going to remove this because even when FabFilter Pro Q is in bypass, if it's in maximum linear phase, it eats up, like, for me, like 5 to 10% of my CPU. Sometimes, I'm not sure why. Oh, you know what I could do actually? I'm going to switch to my ASIO driver. Hopefully this works with the streaming. It might not actually. That might have screwed up my shit. So now it's on ASIO. Now I should be able to I can't even press stop when this lag thing happens. I added a clairphonic EQ and it took, what was that, like 10 seconds to just put it in there. Oh, it looks like whatever I did, now the tonal balance plugin is working. Or it was. It was working for 2 seconds. What the hell? Oh, I think I'm just getting CPU overloaded. What can I do to fix this? So I think this Blue Cat's patchwork might push the CPU even harder than... I'm just going to turn Ozone off for now. That'll do it. Okay. Okay, so that was obviously clipping. Now that clipping is happening before I'm even sending it into Blue Cat's patchwork. And this is how I'm going to fix that. I got a pre-stage here. Here's Pierce console bus. After Pierce console bus, actually essentially before would have been better. So let's click, cut, click, paste, and then click load VST, and I'm going to add what am I going to add? Oh, I'm going to add bit shift gain from Airwindows, which is the only gain plugin that uses zero math to change the gain, but there's a drawback. You can only change the gain in increments of 6 dB at a time, which is actually pretty cool, because I mean, if you think about it, like before you send your audio to tape, you'll either boost it 6 dB to push it, or you'll reduce it 6 dB to make it more transparent. And that's the same with like tube compressors and all kinds of other shit. Like 6 dB is. So I'm gonna reduce it by 1 bit, and let's see if that fixes it. So that's the only gain plugin that loses absolutely no bits, but other gain plugins and level meters, you know, utility in Ableton, the sliders, volume knobs on your VSTs, when you turn them up and down, you're losing a small amount of bits by doing that processing, because it's a non-linear processing. Bit shift gain, however, just reduces the bit by 1, which is like magic. I think it worked too. Whatever I did just worked. haven't totally looked into this Purist Drive plugin, but my idea was that it would work better than the drive on the True Iron plugin, which the Crush is the drive on that one. So let's say we turn that all the way down. And I'm not sure exactly why I wasn't hearing any like change. Might be because this is on summing mode. Oh, here I got an idea. That should be solo, right? Yeah, that's solo. So I want to hear the difference when this drive is turned up. I'm not hearing any difference. My ears might be tired. Oh, another thing that would fix this issue that I controlled by adding this bit shift gain. Basically, it was clipping it loud as hell before it was being sent into here. What I could do instead is this. And I think this was the method that I ended up sticking with when I tried a bunch of different ways to take audio from a track that somebody rendered, and it was the true peaks were going over 0. Most people, they just see their DAW level meter. They're not seeing the true peak values. What I did was where the heck is it? I'm like scatterbrain right now. The desk plugin. Because I'm talking while I'm doing stuff. So I'm going to put this desk before patchwork. Should go in this pre thing, but I'm just being a little lazy. Actually, I should go after the console bus. This console bus should be the first thing, other than maybe bit shift gain. Yeah, even the bit shift gain should be after it, I think. So this desk, what this does is it handles audio. Like, you can send something that's clipping at like plus 24 dB into it, and it handles it like a desk would, because like when you send your stuff out to hardware units, you end up summing, like sending stuff back to the desk and summing multiple channels, and it pushes it like super fucking hard. In fact, what I could do is put this on sum and then add a desk on the post. I'll do that. Check it out. It should be before that 80 clip though. Let's cut. Paste. Building this Blue Cats thing takes quite a while, but I think once I get like one built, then I can have it saved as a thing that I will always use and do minor tweaks to. So what was I going to do? Damn it, the ADD kitchen. Oh, desk. I have severe ADHD. I'm not sure what desk 4 does. I haven't learned it yet. So this desk is then going to handle the audio. We're going to sum it, so it's going to be loud as fuck. But then the desk takes it and it brings it back to where it's like not going over 0, basically. I thought I had added more rows and columns and shit. Okay, I did add them, but there's like another way to see them. Oh, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. So this bit shift gain should be after the console bus. Console bus should always be the first thing on your bus channel. And Pierce console channel should be the first thing on every single one of your channels. Because it makes things process better, more accurately. What am I doing? I'm putting a bit shift gain. Okay. I really gotta set the standard folder to be this one. And bit shift gain. And then I can go ahead and remove this one. If I put anything before the console bus, what would it be? I have an idea. A capacitor. This might be totally wrong, and it's probably going to be so subtle that we won't be able to hear a difference. Or it might be just bad. But I have found it hard to like do stuff with the Airwindows plugins and like it being bad. So what was I doing? Oh, capacitor. Or could I put the desk before the console bus? No, that wouldn't be right. So this capacitor, I mean, I guess it, my guess is that it emulates analog capacitors, which basically stores up the energy, and then I don't even know what the fuck a capacitor does. I need to learn some stuff. I have read about what capacitors do probably 10 times in the last week. Couldn't tell you. It's like, okay. Once these are minimized, I wonder how you. Oh, I think you have to click on them and click show. So now both of these are on. So it's in parallel and it's summing them. So it's loud as hell going into the desk, into the clipper. Let's see what happens. Very bad. Oh, it's probably, is it this desk? No. Strange. But my guess is that this capacitor might need to be off. Oh, I think it's, okay, it's summing them. And there's the desk. Oh, then I need a bit shift gain after that. So, cut, paste, I think. I could just load one of my audio things that I saved that I used this on one of Quasar's tracks. And I think I might have ended up just using the bit shift gain to turn it down in the end. I can't remember what I did. Takes me forever to go to the Steinberg folder. I need to fix that. Will do after streaming. What was I looking for? Oh, bit shift gain. The only gain plugin in which the resulting audio is exactly the same as the pre-processed audio. Nothing is lost, nothing is changed. I have no idea why the tonal balance module is waking out. Absolutely no idea, but I probably, if I restarted Ableton, the heck? It froze. I've never seen this down here. Must be new in Ableton 10. Oh, I didn't use 9, so... And this from tape plugin is a lot more subtle than the 2-tape plugin. So I'd recommend using the from tape on, like, in your songs. Put it on, like, as many channels as you can, and then also put it on your master bus. Or you can put this on all your channels. What I did was I put this before all my coloring stuff, and then after everything else I put the 2-tape plugin, which is more of what you get from the analog tape machines. Which, that might be too much tape. I could have just used the from tape twice. But, let's see what I could do. Put the from tape like here. Let's see if this works. Now, this is like way more coloring than I would probably end up using in the end. I'm just kind of experimenting. I probably should have named this stream experimenting instead of a walkthrough of my mastering chain, because it's no, I did not do a walkthrough. So what was I doing again? I was putting a, oh yeah, from tape. My brain is not working very fast right now. I've been awake for too long. So, let's see how this sounds. It's probably going to be so subtle that we won't even be able to tell. So this weight adds bass, the softer adjusts the highs. Now, what ChrisJ from Airwindows recommended, I believe, was to leave these untouched. Oh, you can bring the output up to double. Which actually probably would be something that would be good to do if you like. What I'll do is I'll lower the gain more with, oh, I didn't lower it. It's weird. I'm going to lower it by 1 bit, and then let's put that to 1. Hey, what the heck? So what I did there was I lowered the gain without losing anything before it went into the tape, and then that way this is like very subtle, and then I raised the gain back up. Ultimately it got turned down, and the reason why it should be turned down is because then it's going into these, which, you know, I would argue that before you throw stuff into capacitors and tube emulators and stuff like that, that you should turn it down 6 dB. A lot of people turn stuff up 6 dB to push things, but that's, you know, in mastering it, the subtleties are better. And then these are summed together, which makes it loud as fuck going into desk. In fact, I wish I could move all these down because I want to put, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add bit shift gains here and push them up. So it's going to go loud as hell into the desk, and then we'll see what happens. Steinberg. Need to set this damn default folder. Don't know how. If somebody could Google how to set the default folder in the Blue Cats, oh, I should check comments now. If somebody has a moment, please Google for me how to set default BST folder in Blue Cats Patchwork. So I add another bit shift gain. I could use a drive, but I think drives would be better, like before going into the tubes and stuff. I'll push this up 1 bit, mofo, and I think I'm gonna put like a compressor after this on this one, but put a bit shift gain. Oh, I should just copy and paste. That's an easy way to do it. In fact, let's hit cancel. Copy, motherfucker. Paste, motherfucker. Booyah. There's gotta be a way to click and drag and move them or something. I clicked it. I don't know what that does. Oh. Is that really? Okay. Blah 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 Jesus and something something something. Blah 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 Jesus and something something something. I will listen to the actual vocals later, but like my learning disability makes it to where in music I can just hear patterns. I cannot hear words. I can hear Jesus though. One sticks out a little bit. Oh, okay, they're +1. Alright, let's see how it sounds. And then I'll try +2 into the desk. I'm gonna check the comments now. Yeah, you're right, I probably would get more plays on Twitch. When I tried Twitch the other day though, I had got like 13 viewers and then they all left and nobody came back for like the next hour. But maybe like part of my streaming wasn't going that well at that time. Can you restream to stream? Can you restream to stream to YouTube and Twitch at the same time? Or stream on Twitch and then upload to YouTube, export to YouTube? That's a good question. Yeah, I should do that. I wonder how I do that. If I open my browser at this point, it will sound bad. Well, okay, let's just turn this off for a second. I'm going to see if I can open my browser while streaming. Should be fine, right? By the way, I am not David Pixley. My name is Spacey Blur. Restream YouTube to Twitch. I think that was the first thing he suggested. Service for multi-stream. Restream.io. How to stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time, my pal. Yeah. Oh, you know what would be cool on top of this, Spacey? Assuming you're still here, is once you start streaming, then you can use a website called ifttt.com. It's if this then that.com, which is basically scripts like, say, I post on Facebook, it says, "Good morning, everybody," then that would like trigger something, a script to make it say it on Twitter. If I post a track on SoundCloud, then my social media could make posts. And I'm thinking, like, once you go streaming, then there should be an ifttt.com script that automatically goes to all your social media accounts and just goes boom, streaming, 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 everybody check it out. And then that would be like without even clicking. So sign up now. Try Restream now. I'm gonna save this, and I'm gonna load up a project that I did for Quasar, or do you pronounce that Quaxar? I gotta ask him. I've been meaning to ask him. I'm gonna open this because I'm just curious as to what gain strategy that I ended up using, because I did determine which one sounded the best. I think it's this. Something, something, Jesus, and something, something, something. And that'll take a while to load, so now I can sign up over here. So that goes camera, is that Reddit? Oh, Restream. Welcome to your first channel. Okay. YouTube events. YouTube stream, bitch. I'm about to multi-stream off. By the way, I'm planning on making a store with beard oils and beard balms that it's already like halfway set up at this point. And I have some beard balms and oils that I made that are cool. They're awesome. Allow, motherfucker. Everybody has access. Permission accepted, granted. Shut off streaming? OBS, I'm already streaming. Wirecast, other blah 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 blah. Aha. So I have to end this stream and then configure this. Hopefully it doesn't take me an hour and a half. and I will end this stream after I show you my key. Haha, just kidding. So, good thing I know a dude named Two Stream, because he was like, was so paranoid that he showed the key and copied it and was like, and you gotta click hide key as fast as you can, because you never know who's hacked your computer and is watching your monitor. So I'm gonna end this stream, and I plan on being back sometime today, maybe in 5 or 10 minutes, maybe hours, but I'll make a little post on Facebook just to say yo. Alright, bye for now, everybody. I am David Pixley. This is the muzzle mastering. This was not, it didn't end up being what I had planned. I had planned on showing you kind of a walkthrough of the mastering techniques that I usually use, and I usually tweak them, but I will do that at a certain point. Oh, my beard looks dope in this color, bruh. Well, man, gnarly dude. Well, so, well, bruh. Oh, and I am living in California, so I'm allowed to say bruh. Well, man, that's gnarly, dude. Oops. You can do some pretty cool stuff with just the little filters in OBS. That you can really find some neat little spots where stuff is extremely cool, bruh. Extremely cool. This opacity thing should have a knob like all the other ones. So yeah, with hip hop, I was able, when I just sit and listen and try really hard to listen to what what rap vocals are saying, then I can, but it's pretty difficult. I have to go and rewind a lot, but I'm sure eventually I'll have the song memorized and shit. Thing doesn't seem to do much. The image mask blend. Makes me look gangsta. See how this one has opacity like slider? All of them should have that. They shouldn't make you have to click one arrow at a time. It's pretty neat combinations of possibilities are endless, bruh. Well, ma. Gnarly, dude. Can you imagine like somebody on YouTube just randomly finds this video and they're like watching it? It's kind of weird. Eventually I'll make my shit, oh that's cool. I'll make my shit like more, my eyes are purple. I'll make my shit more properly looking professional and shit. But for now I'm just kind of fooling around with stuff. Well, bro, that's gnarly, man. I did figure out how to add some filters to my audio devices. Like when I talk, then it sidechain compresses the audio from my DAW. So if I'm talking, then like your ability to listen to the audio that's playing from the music is kind of shitty. I might get rid of that. I think my mic might be set up better now. I have to go back. I'm going to go and listen to this streaming and then make some tweaks, and I'll set up restream.io, and then I should be back today possibly. And big shout outs to Tori Thomas for the music. Also shout outs to Quasar, and I'll probably stream mastering his stuff possibly in the next video. He said I could. And big shout outs to ChrisJ at Airwindows.com for the free plugins. Please support him on Patreon because it's worth it. And big shout outs to Spacey Blur for tuning in. And I think he recommends streaming on Twitch and then upload to YouTube, or use Restream to stream to YouTube and Twitch at the same time. That's what I'll do. And then I'll try to implement, like, I'll have a link to my YouTube on my Twitch channel. I'll have a link to my Twitch on my YouTube channel. A lot of people will go to a Twitch and then they'll be like, oh fuck this, I have to sign up. So I'm trying to implement like cross whatever of the social medias. But really I don't have a ton of time to focus on this because I have to spend more time actually doing the mastering work. Because I be getting paid, yo. Yeah. Alright, peace. I'm David Pixley, the Muzzle of themuzzlemastering.com. I will see you next time.